Alright, we're back. Let's do the last of these animation tutorial vids. Basically, we're going to start with our butterfly cutout. Here it is. We got everything sorted out where we need it to be. The body, left wing, right wing, the main leaf right there, the flower, the front leaves up here, the main stalk, and then of course our background. I think I want the flower leaf. That's not bad. That's good. Okay, this one's pretty big. And for those of you who are working with like really big files, you can go ahead and trim this down a little bit. So let me just show you the image size here. 7,360 pixels by 4,912. So this is like 35 megapixels plus. That's big. This is great for doing the work, the cutout work and everything. But what we don't really need is this much resolution, especially when we're going to scale this down to 1920 by 1080. So you could literally cut this in half and you'd be just fine. So what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and take this down to like 3,000. Oh, hold on. Be careful that this thing is selected so that you can lock the aspect ratio. So 3,000. So 3,000 by 2,000 is totally fine. And you can see that the image size goes from 103 megabytes down to like 17, which is like a significant drop. So that will help not only in your file sizes, but also in your computer running the animation, especially as you start adding more and more layers and effects and stuff like that. So let's just go ahead and do that. Just rescaling the image here, and it looks like it got really small, but honestly, this is it at 100%. Okay, this is it at 50%. So we're doing fine. What we'll do is we'll save this as something smaller. So we'll call this downsize. We already did this one. So 02 PSD, and that's okay. Just make sure you keep the full resolution one in case you needed to do something really crazy later on. So let's go back into After Effects and we'll import that butterfly downsize file, composition, import, and then let's get to work on that one. Alright, so this scene is pretty nice. We've got a few layers to work with, so let's not worry too much about the butterfly at the moment, but let's just get this parallax scene set up nicely. So basically what we're going to want to do is basically follow the same rules. Background, let's get this position kind of moving a little bit. We don't have to do it a ton. It's not bad. Again, nice just linear keyframes. And then we'll get the main stalk, which is kind of like where the butterfly is. And let's get this moving significantly. It's not bad. I think it's moving pretty quickly across the background. And then this front leaf, these two front leaves, we want those to be even more dynamic here. That feels pretty good. And then this other main leaf. You can do some interesting stuff with this, right? So if we took the rotation here, and we went ahead and had this move a little bit more than the main stalk, right? Like that. But at the same time, what we did is we adjusted the rotation slightly, so that when we came back here, maybe we just got a sense of like this rotation around it, right? And that might be too much position motion. Let's just dial it back a little bit. And then we go and turn these flowers off real quick so we can kind of get a sense of what's happening here. So you can see that we've added just a little bit of rotation here so that it feels like the plant's kind of being moved around, like the camera's moving it around. And again, we might just have just a little bit too much motion with that leaf, so let's just, I think that feels pretty good. So you can see what this is doing in like kind of the slow motion effect. Adding that little bit of rotation there makes the whole scene feel like the camera's panning around instead of just left to right or right to left. It's like doing a pan around, so the camera's like rotating its focal point around the main stock. So that could be a pretty cool effect to employ. And then let's go ahead and do the flower as well. Now we're going to have this flower like above that leaf, so that position, again, we'll have it here. Maybe we'll have that move just slightly more than the leaf, so this feels a little bit of slide across it. We can actually have that rotate the opposite way a little bit. Nothing major, just maybe a degree or two. Just so you feel like there's a little bit of separation. And I think that's fine. One thing that we skipped over was we'll still want to do some cleanup work on our image. So what I'll do is I'll still come back out here and go to the blur and grab a little bit for these front leaves, right? Just so, again, 10 seems fine for that one. Let's see how we do this other front leaf. Yeah, that feels pretty good too, right? Just softens up the image a bit. And then, you know, some of you might be dealing with this. You see this really like sharp grain that's in the background. Go ahead and just put a soft blur on that, so that goes away as well. We don't need that really over sharpened grain. It just takes a pixel or two of blurring to get rid of that sharpness there. So do that just in case your image is like really over sharpened. You'll want to do that. And you know, we'll do this with the main stock as well. I think 10 is a little much for the main stock. We may just want like a 2 or a 3. Just so that softens up our cutout edges slightly. It makes it look a little bit, again, the main leaf, we could just kind of do the same thing. Again, maybe just a 2, or even a 1. Right, so it maintains a little bit of sharpness, but not, see how it goes just a little bit soft. Just to kind of maintain it. And then we could do that with the flowers as well. Again, that's too much. That's not too much. Maybe just, again, like a 1. Just where we're taking it from our cutout from so sharp to just soft. Because it's okay that our butterfly is kind of like the main focus of what is happening here. So this looks pretty good. So our scene is this. Our butterfly hasn't really moved much at all. We haven't got there yet, but at least our other scene is kind of moving along here. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about the butterfly. Now, this butterfly, we have both the wings, so this is going to work for us. Usually what I like to do is when I'm going to make things kind of move in 3 dimensions, I like to have them set up on either evenly along an X or Y axis, just so that I have some simple numbers to crunch. And sometimes, even though this original image comes with the butterfly kind of at this like 35-degree angle here, we can alter that in Photoshop, just so that we kind of match it so that it's a little bit closer to a 90-degree angle. And one of the reasons to do that is just so that we can kind of work with that layer in 3D just a little bit more simply. There's nothing wrong with kind of doing that and then setting your pre-comp back to the same angle, or even a different angle if you want. So I'll go ahead and save that. It'll update here, and then we can kind of get to work with how this is going to be. So I'll want to move the butterfly layer and everything together. So I'll go ahead and pre-compose the wings and the body together. So I'll just butterfly pre-comp. And that'll give us our butterfly solo. So here's our butterfly solo. Let's look at the wings and kind of figure out how are we going to make this work. Take the position of rotation while it's still in 2D mode and move it on over to where the wings connect with the body for the most part. We'll go ahead and put the body underneath the wings, and the body's not going to really move much, but you know, if you need to, go ahead and kind of do that with it. And then we can have a little bit of like antenna movement with the body if we'd like. Again, that's going to be the puppet pin tool. So what we could do is kind of set a little puppet pin right here on the head. You can see there's our, I'll just kind of get one right there, get a nice little one right here where the antenna is. Nice one right there. We don't have to show the mesh anymore, but there you go. So again, we want to be careful that we're not tweaking the body too much when the antennas move, so we'll just put a little anchor point right there, and then come over here, and then maybe the antennas like move slightly, just a little bit. Maybe the body comes back this way. Yeah, very good. Fine. It's a little crazy, but there you go. Alright, so let's get into the wings here. So here's our left wing, and with these switches right here, what I'm going to do is change these into 3D layers. So you can see that now they have multiple axes. And when we hit R for rotation, you'll notice also that we have the ability to rotate these on 3 different axes now. So X rotation, of course, is going to be this way. It's not going to help us. Z rotation is going to be this way. Not going to help us. So for here, we want this to rotate up and down like this. All right. So because we want this to kind of like start up a little bit, we'll go ahead and start the wing at a kind of a nice angle here, and then have it just slowly drop down to 0. And maybe what we'll do is we'll actually have this ease out. So it kind of accelerates into that. That's pretty good. Right wing will want to do the same. Rotation, Y, because I said so. And then we'll go ahead and do the same thing down to 0. And we'll go ahead and make this same ease out of here. Okay, so there's our wings opening, and you can see that there's some things that we don't love about it. You know, we see this split here between the body. It's okay to sort of adjust that, you know. So we can take this Z rotation right about there, and then maybe even change the position slightly. And we can animate those back over time so that they kind of go back to where we want them to be. So again, down to 0 rotation, and then have it match up with the body. And then we'll go ahead and have these ease out as well. And then you get like kind of a nice, more fluid, no gaps, no stickiness. Okay, so here's our butterfly opening its wings, moving its antenna, and it's feeling pretty good. Along with the 3D layers, there's these options that you can kind of mess around with for 3D cameras that add like lens effects and sort of blur and depth of field type stuff. So if you're going to use a camera, let me kind of just walk you through that, and hopefully maybe this can help you explore a little bit. This is, you know, maybe I'll do a 50 millimeter. Focal length 22. That's fine. Maybe great. Great. This looks fine. Don't worry about that too much. So we'll just get a little bit of warping there. But where the real magic happens is right here. Where this depth of field is on, the focus distance is here. If you bring this aperture up a lot, you'll see that you'll start to get some blurring from where it's focused, right? It was focused on the body right here, and the more we bring this aperture up, the tighter our depth of field is going to be. So now these wings are actually moving toward the lens, which of course is outside of where the focal point is. But as these wings drop into position, they start to fall within the focal point of the camera. So that's a nice way to add a little bit. This might be a little crazy. 500 would probably be fine. So it gets that sort of depth of field, like this is in focus. Let me go ahead and put this on full. So that this is in focus, right? And you get that sense of fall off. Like we're really taking a picture with it. And we can see how that works out in our butterfly. So here's our butterfly now. Now that we have this isolated as a pre-comp, well, you can go ahead and return it to the original kind of layout or something different if you like. But you know, now we can kind of, well, how is this supposed to be? You know, this is the composition that I'm looking for. And then what you can also do is maybe like here's the flower, which we know it's resting on. So just take the position of the butterfly, P, and go ahead and grab the pick whip and just marry it or make it the child of the flower. So now we know that the flower is going to do this, and again, you'll need to adjust the anchor point or something. Just kind of set it to where you're comfortable artistically having it there, and then as the scene progresses, then we get a little bit of like that motion. All right, let's see how this kind of turned out. With the depth of field and the lens blurring, it will take a little bit longer for your computer to RAM preview, but it shouldn't be too crazy. As you can see, this is probably a good idea that we scaled it down slightly, because we went half a size, which actually saved us 75% of the pixels to be rendered. So this is actually RAM previewing 4 times faster than it would have if we hadn't scaled it down. So you can see that sometimes just working at the correct resolution, that's just enough to get you the quality that you need, can save you some RAM cycles on the back end. Okay, this feels pretty good. Feels like a nice, smooth parallax shot. And the butterfly wings opening feel, pretty elegant. So the same process we're going to go through as far as making this let's see, butterfly resize. Getting this ready for rendering. Go back to project and go ahead and want our butterfly. Oh wait, sorry, that's our pre-comp. Butterfly. Oh, because butterfly downsize. That's what I'm thinking. Sorry, everybody. Butterfly downsize. I was looking for butterfly cut. Okay, so then we'll do the same process that we went through here. We're going to want to leave it a little bit bigger so we don't get these white gaps. But let's see, that's about right. So from here to here, we get a little bit of white still, but not too bad. Scale it up slightly. You'll notice that we're missing the top of our flower and then the bottom part of our leaf. So what we'll do is let's go ahead and just drop this whole scene so the butterfly kind of ends up a little bit in the middle. And we'll go back to that pre-comp, just like we did with our bird. We'll get these front leaves up here. Just click on position, and we'll slide these up into the scene. And of course now they'll have to go in front or above on these. And maybe we'll even take these and slide them over slightly so that we see this part of the leaf. Obscured. That's pretty good. Okay, let's go to this resize here. Now that we've changed the positions on that, maybe I want those to slide a little bit more. So this is sort of about just kind of previewing what you have, just to make sure that the scene feels right to you when all is said and done. Let's take it off full. Let's just watch it at half resolution here. It's pretty good. I think I want those front leaves to move a little more. Cool. So we'll start in here. And then we'll kind of come over here a bit. That feels okay, I think. Okay, those front leaves might be moving a tiny bit too much, but you know, get to where you're comfortable with the scene and what you have set up. That way, the motion feels kind of natural to you as the motion artist, and you're able to kind of sell the story as best you can. Okay, pretty nice scene. It's working pretty well, and that's pretty much it. If anybody has any other specific questions about any techniques or anything, just drop me a line, or we can talk about it when we meet up again, and we'll make sure we get you sorted out. Well, thanks everybody. That's the end of number 3 animation tutorial. So look forward to hearing your questions and seeing your results. Okay, we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.